Hello, it's Nancy today. Okay, I was going to tell you about being a bus driver. Now, I wanted to be a bus driver for a while just because I thought it would be fun to play with all those little children. So this is how I did it. I had a few little techniques. I already said this on another video, but I wanted to go into more detail. First of all, the bus was metal on the inside. And so I realized that we could put pictures all over the inside. If you use tape, it will take the paint off the inside of the bus. And so that's probably not allowed. But magnets hold refrigerator door closed. So if you go to the dump and there's old refrigerators there, you can take a knife and just along the edge where it around the refrigerator. Actually, it's only on 3 sides of the fridge doors and the freezer doors. Take a knife and you just slice on the edge of the where it sticks to the where one door part sticks to the next, and you'll find there's a strip. It's a long, skinny strip that goes all the way up and around the door. And if you pull that, it'll just slide right out. Okay, so then you've got this long, skinny strip. Now you can just break that. You just break it and it'll break off. And actually, you can use it for fridge magnets, and for you take a business card and put a child's name on it, and then put the magnet on the back, glue it on. Then you could put them over the chairs where you're going to have the kids sit. But anyway, so I took those magnets and I would hand out the magnets with. Often I had a child who was older, one of the senior grades. He had the magnets, and he was in charge of getting the magnets to the kids once they had finished their pictures. So I handed out paper and pencil crayons. Sometimes I handed out crayons, but pencil crayons seemed to work the best, but they couldn't write on the bus with a pencil crayon. Whereas if it was a crayon, they might. I didn't want them writing on the chairs or anything. You know how these little children are, and those hours of boredom in the bus are long minutes. So, they would get on the bus, and I would hand out paper, pencil crayons, and then if they were old enough, I'd hand them out a couple of magnets. And if they were younger, I would give them all to one older child who was in charge of them. And so after they had drawn a picture, they would put it up on the wall right above their window, and so from up above the wall and all the way over to the middle of the bus, that was their area where they could put their pictures. And so sometimes I'd ask them to draw a certain picture, and so I'd get a whole bunch of pictures of that day. And sometimes I'd get, they'd draw their own thing, or they'd put their name and excuse me, you know how kids like to really do it up with their name. They make it all flowery or whatever, or they'll call themselves something else. So that was one thing I did. Another thing I did, I went to the dump and I found all these small toys, just little toys, little trucks and airplanes and people, different little things. And I had them in a box, and I would hold the box up and let the kids come out. Like, I wouldn't do the same thing every day. Sometimes everybody get paper, sometimes they get toys, different things. So I have these little toys, and some of them were soft, like those M&Ms. But I would hand out some toys. Sometimes I'd let the kids pick them, but then they'd usually take forever looking and deciding what they needed, and then it would slow the bus route down too much. So I'd hand them out something, and some kids I knew after a while. I knew this child always wanted airplanes, and so they would take them back to their seat, and they would play with them at their seat. And then they would trade too. It was okay to trade. And then I also had books. I had a little library up there. This was all before those regulations came in where you had to have everything. This is really loud, isn't it? Well, you can turn your video down. They're being ridiculous, aren't they? Okay, so I would get books, children's books, the little kind you'd read at night, or small ones, and I'd hand them out. And some children really like to read, and so halfway through the bus ride, they'd be asking if they could have another book, and so I'd be passing books back, and books would be passed up to me, and I would pass new books back. And some children would get on the bus, and I'd just hand them a whole little pile, especially ADHD kids who were very hard to satisfy, who would just go through one after another. And so I would hand them out a whole pile, and that they could trade with each other. And so the kids really liked it on the bus. Okay, now I had other things I did. We would arrive at school a few minutes early. So we would pull up in front of the school. And I said, okay, now, first day I was there, I said, now there's some rules here. And I turned around, and up above the front window, there were some metal pictures, and one was a cigarette with a line through it, and another one was an ice cream cone with a line through it, circle and a line through it, and another one was a bluebird, and it said under there bluebird. I think it was Bluebird Lines or something. That was the name of the bus. Well, there goes my voice. They're good, eh? Okay, so I stood up there at the front of the bus and I said, okay, now we've got 3 rules. Rule number 1, I pointed to the no smoking sign. I said, no campfires on the bus. Understand? No campfires. And then I pointed to the second one, and it was the one that had the ice cream cone. I said, no ice cream cones on the bus. And the third rule, I said, that's my voice. They like playing together, don't they? You should check out Teepee Woman, T-I-P-I Woman. That's where I have other pictures of them up there, playing their instruments. Okay, so the third one was this bluebird, picture of a bluebird. And so I said, and third rule is that you must sing like a bluebird. So this is our choir. This is the bus choir. So and when we would get there at the before school started, and I'd stand up at the front and I'd say, okay, choir, what do you want to sing? So they get, had little children, little tiny children, who were 4 years old, going to junior kindergarten, all the way up to grade 8s, who were just wild monsters in the back of the bus. Anyway, and I'd say, what do you want to sing? And I have all these little grade 1 children or kindergarten children, ABCs, ABCs, and so we'd sing A, B, and I'd stand up there and I'd wave my arms, like A, B, C, D. My voice. I'm so proud of my little boys. They do really good. Okay, so we'd sing ABCs, and I'd say, now hold everything. You people at the back of the bus, you have to start at the same time as the front of the bus. Now watch my hand. When my hand comes down, that's when you start singing. So I got them all to start at the same time. Well, singing all ages. It's like to have a grade 8 singing ABCs, they have to have permission to do that. I mean, everybody wants to sing it, but nobody would do it because they got their friends around. Interesting piece they're playing. Okay, so our music on the bus was so much fun. So I'd have them, I'm divided, listening to my children and telling you about this. I get them those really good reeds. They're 1/2-inch Van Doren reeds. I think they're 3.5, something like that, millimeter. No, it can't be 3.5 millimeter. They're making those crazy noises on purpose. Once they can do things well, they really cut up. Try and do them wrong.